we're at a an in-between stage with the dandelions right now, because with dandelion we use both the flower and we use the leaves. Well, we use the root as well. So right now we're at the in-between stage from when you would harvest the flower, which was a few weeks ago when the majority of them were in bloom, and now it's gone to seed. And once these seeds blow away, the stalk that the seed is on will die back, and that's usually sometime in early June. And then by that time the leaves are much larger. So generally speaking, the time that we harvest the flowers is in May, whereas the time that usually early May, early to mid-May. Although this year the dandelions were earlier than usual, and I actually harvested them at the end of April. And then you wait until most of them have flowered and they've gone to seed and the seeds blow away, and then these stalks die back. By that time, it's early mid-June and the leaves are a lot larger, right? So that's when you harvest the leaves. With a lot of plants where the flowers are on a leafy stalk, you just harvest the whole stalk when it's flowering and you get leaves and flowers. But because the way dandelion grows, the flowers come up on a separate stalk, and at a time when the leaves aren't really that large and mature yet, we have to do it separately. In my own practice, what I do is I make a tincture of the flowers in May, and then I harvest the leaves in usually around mid-June when they're larger, and when, as I said, these flower stalks have died back. And when I press them and filter them to make the final tincture that I'm going to use in my practice, I use a 2-to-1 ratio of 2 parts leaves to 1 part flowers. So typically what I do is I make the leaves in 1-liter sizes and the flowers in half-liter sizes, and then I press them together. And that's one dandelion tincture. The other one is the root, which we harvest usually in late October, early November, when the leaves start to die back. Dandelion doesn't die back completely, meaning that even in the wintertime under the snow, if you know where dandelion is growing, it will still have a very tiny little rosette of usually reddish leaves, and then new leaves come out in the spring. So in the fall, when the leaves start to die back, is when you dig up the roots, and then we make a tincture of the roots. And I do sometimes use them together. However, I use them a little bit differently. So I typically use either the tincture of the leaf and the flower or the tincture of the root, but sometimes I'll actually combine them together in a formula, usually in equal parts. So if I combine it in a formula, what you're getting is, 1/6 flower, 2/6 or 1/3 leaves, and half root. Anyway, so we use dandelion for a lot of different things, and there's a huge overlap between the properties of the aerial parts, the leaves and the flowers, and the root. But the root is kind of deeper and a little bit stronger. It's used for a wide variety of things. It's a very good detoxifying herb. It helps with chronic inflammatory conditions. It helps with liver and gallbladder conditions. The root in particular is very prebiotic. So it contains constituents that feeds the microbiome in the gut, as well as working on and balancing the digestive system, especially the liver and gallbladder. It's used also a lot for urinary tract conditions. Now, it's not a particularly antimicrobial herb, so if you had a urinary tract infection, you would have to combine it with something that's a little bit more antimicrobial. But just in terms of restoring kidney and bladder functioning and reducing inflammation in the urinary tract, it's amazing. And those are kind of the main things that we use it for. It's also an immune stimulant, and again, with the root being the more powerful part of the plant for stimulating the immune system. There's other things that it helps with, but those are, to a lesser extent, those are the main things that we use it for.